That's not supposed to happen. Sometimes it's the simplest tools that make fabrication just a whole lot easier, and I've had an idea for one for a long time, and today we're actually going to turn it into metal. When I'm fabricating, I often need to lift material up a little bit off of the welding table. And this might be to weld around a joint or just to line a few things up, and a lot of times it doesn't need to be really precise, but I do need a bit of adjustability. In the past, I've just taken some drops and stacked them up to prop this up, and that can work okay, but hitting the right height can often be difficult. And I spent a small fortune on these shims from Fireball Tool, and while they're really nice and extremely precise, I don't usually need that much precision, and I like something that I can move faster with. I built these screw jacks a while back on the channel, and while they're really cool, this smallest one is still a little bit taller than what I need most of the time. I need something more in the 1 to 3 inch range. Now, I was looking at my roller stand, and I thought that if I had a piece of bar stock that ran across like this, and a frame that could support it at different heights, I could be able to adjust this, but I want something I can adjust quickly. So here's what I came up with. I'm going to use a piece of 1/2 inch round bar, and I can slide it up through those grooves incrementally. So the bottom one is right at 1 inch, and then it increases by 1/8 of an inch per groove. And then the next row above starts at 2 inches and moves up by 1/8 inch each. And it's all made with tab and slot design, so it should be pretty easy to assemble and weld together. It looks good on paper, but we're gonna have to build it to see how it actually holds up and works. I'm making these parts out of 1/4 inch thick carbon steel, and I'm going to cut them out on the xTool MetalFab fiber laser. Now this machine's really cool, not just because it can cut through thick steel like a knife through butter, but it lets you use every little bit of the material. See, I need to run a test cut, and I'm just going to use this little island right here to be able to run that and make sure that my cut quality and dimensions are good before I cut a big chunk out. The reason I'm able to hit that exact spot is a camera system that's built in, and I can just drag a 1 inch square right into that area on the screen, and it cuts out exactly as it shows. I always like to run a test cut like that. I just use a little 1 inch square, and it gives me a good picture of the edge quality that I'm going to get. And it looks really good in this case. You know, with oxygen cutting, I wasn't a big fan at first, largely because I wasn't great at calibrating the machine, but now that I've become better at that, I'm a huge fan of the quality that you get out of these. I'm going to show the cut speed in real time so you can get an idea of how quickly this thing actually cuts, and I got to tell you, it's really not too bad. Now I'm using oxygen as the gas, and so rather than a high pressure compressed air, or you could use nitrogen that blasts the molten metal out of the kerf, it's using oxygen almost like a cutting torch. So you have a defocused laser spot, and then the oxygen actually reacts with the steel to be able to get more thickness and more speed than you otherwise could with the laser alone. So it's really cool. One of the challenges with this is you do have a little bit wider kerf that you have to compensate for, but I've been able to do that pretty well. Take a look at the cut quality on these things. Overall, really impressive. I think I might have my nozzle a little out of calibration. That's why I had some roughness on just one side. That happened right there. I have my slots a little bit too tight, and then I tried to press it in and buckled it a little bit. Now also, when I put some round bar in just to test this out, it works. I like the concept, but it's a little too easy to roll down, so I need a little bit deeper groove. That's really the cool thing about having this capability in a small machine that can fit in a small shop or garage, is I can just go down, draw this up again, and try over right away and still crank something out today. So let's see if we can fix it. The nice thing about the way that I modeled this up is I just need to change a couple dimensions, and I can resize the whole base, and then one more dimension will spread those holes out a little bit further and make the grooves a little bit deeper, and I can export these and load them in and cut them again. Now once again, this is real-time cut speed here, and you can see how everything is spread out a little bit more than before. So I'll have those deeper grooves to keep the bar from rolling down like it did in the past. I also adjusted the slots a little bit to have just a little bit more clearance so that everything can fit together nicely to assemble and weld without buckling it like I did on the last one. The cut quality on these parts is really good. Overall, there is a little bit of dross to clean off, but it's not going to be a lot to get them in shape. Now, after a quick deburr with the grinder, everything is sitting really nicely and they fit perfectly in the tab and slot. I got that right this time around, and the pin right here can drop in, and this slot is 1 inch above the table, and then I can index up 1 1/8, 1 1/4, 3/8, half, and so on, clear up to 1 7/8, and if I want to go higher, I have right here 2 through 2 7/8. Now I'm going to go ahead and weld these together using the laser. So one thing they've made really easy is switching over from machine operations to handheld operations. It's really just a matter of changing over to the laser weld tube, and it's all done without tools, just like you would on a bicycle seat, and same thing with installing the feeder here. As far as settings, I just select my material, the thickness, it goes up to 200 thousandths, so we're a little over that, but it should be just fine for what we're doing. And I'm running larger wire, and I can enable it, and that's all I have to do on the screen to be able to weld. So I have it clamped to a square to keep it from warping too much while I run that weld. Now this is the real-time weld speed. It's quite a bit slower than I get when I'm running on thinner material, and that's the trick that they use to be able to penetrate in deeper, because this is a 1200 watt system, so I'm really pushing the upper limits of it, both on cutting and welding with this 1/4 inch steel, but it's handling it pretty well. Now I'm noticing a little bit of contamination. It's just not quite as smooth. Some little fireworks there in the middle section. So let's take a look at the actual weld and see what's going on there. So this weld is really interesting to me. If you look right here and right there, it's perfect, right? Picture perfect weld, but in between, there's a lot more contamination and oxidation. Now those two spots, that's where I had my tabs for the tab and slot design. And so in between here, it was picking up a lot more oxide, I think, from the edge. So I probably needed to do a little bit more prep on my edge. I'm going to weld this on both sides, and I'm interested to see if the weld runs the same on the inside with a better result right over that tab than I get when there's the full open joint behind it. And so far you can see a difference in the sparks. And there on the inside, I ended up with basically the same thing. You know, it looks like a little bit of porosity on those good sections of weld. Those are actually just little silicone islands sitting on there. But I probably have a little bit of porosity here in the middle. And that just confirms that I'm dealing with a little bit of contamination from that cut edge without enough prep. You know, that's what I love about this. I'm always learning something. You know, if I were to MIG weld these, I'd have so much filler going in that there'd be deoxidizers cleaning that all out, and I don't think I would have had any issue. The laser welding I've done so far has been typically on thinner material and not cut with oxygen, so definitely something to learn here. And in all reality, it's really not that bad. It'll definitely hold up for what I'm doing here. Well, in the end, this thing turned out pretty good. You know, you can start down here at 1 inch, ratchet clear up, and pull the pin out and put it up here for the 2 inch range, and I think it'll work really well. So I'm going to try this out, see if I want to change anything else, and then probably make a few more of them. Hey, thanks a ton for tuning in today. If you want to learn more about the xTool MetalFab system, there are some videos where I went through extensive reviews and material tests down in the description. So be sure to check those out, as well as a link and a discount code that does help to support these videos on the channel. Thanks again for tuning in. If you enjoyed this and learned something, let me know by hitting that thumbs up or leaving me a comment, and we'll see you next time.